Will Israel ever truly be at peace with its neighbors? It's one of the biggest geopolitical questions of the modern world. For more than 75 years, the Middle East has seen wars, uprisings, terrorism, invasions, occupations, peace treaties, assassinations, and failed negotiations, all centered around one tiny strip of land smaller than many Australian cattle stations. And yet, despite all the violence, Israel today is simultaneously more accepted in the Middle East than ever before, and more hated than ever before. So, what's really going on? And is lasting peace actually possible? Most people imagine Israel surrounded entirely by enemies. That used to be true. In 1948, immediately after Israel declared independence, several Arab states invaded. Then came more wars, 1956, 1967, 1973, and many more in recent times. For decades, many Arab governments viewed Israel not just as a rival, but as an illegitimate state. But, history took a surprising turn. Egypt signed peace with Israel in 1979. Jordan followed in 1994. And then, something nobody expected happened. The Gulf states, countries like the UAE and Bahrain, started normalizing relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords. Why? Not because everyone suddenly became friends, but because geopolitics changed. Many Arab governments became more worried about Iran than Israel. Iran supports armed groups across the region such as Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, militias in Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen. At the same time, Israel became a technological and military powerhouse through cybersecurity, missile defense, artificial intelligence, water technology, and drone warfare. For Gulf monarchies trying to modernize their economies, Israel started looking less like an enemy, and more like a useful partner. So ironically, shared fear brought old enemies closer together. The classic Middle East politics goes like this: maybe we still dislike each other, but we both dislike that guy more. Unfortunately, the Palestinian issue never disappeared. And this is the core reason true peace remains so difficult. For Palestinians, the conflict is about land, displacement, occupation, statehood, and national identity. For Israelis, it's about survival, security, terrorism, and historical trauma. Both sides believe history justifies their fears. And both sides carry generations of pain. That's what makes this conflict different from ordinary border disputes. It's emotional, religious, historical, and existential. And after decades of violence, trust has almost completely collapsed. Here's the uncomfortable truth: making peace is politically dangerous. Any Israeli leader making concessions risks being called weak. And any Palestinian leader making compromises risks being called a traitor. Extremists on both sides thrive during fear and chaos, and every major war pushes moderation further away. After every major attack, populations become more radicalized. People stop asking, "How do we compromise?" and start asking, "How do we survive?" That's when peace processes begin to die before they even get off the ground. The recent Gaza war may reshape the Middle East for an entire generation. The scale of destruction, civilian deaths, hostages, displacement, and trauma has hardened attitudes everywhere. Inside Israel, many people now believe coexistence is impossible without overwhelming security control. And across much of the Arab world, anger toward Israel has exploded. Even Arab governments that quietly cooperate with Israel now face mounting public pressure from their own populations, which creates a paradox. Israel may become more strategically integrated with Arab governments, while becoming less accepted by Arab societies, which creates instability in the region. So, will there ever be peace? The answer depends on what we mean by peace. If peace means no major wars between Israel and neighboring states, then, yes. And that's already partly happening. Israel is stronger militarily than at any point in its history, and many Arab governments now prioritize economic development over endless conflict. But if peace means genuine reconciliation, open borders, mutual trust, and populations accepting one another, that is far harder to achieve in the short term. Because military power can stop invasions, but it cannot erase hatred. And bombs and bullets cannot solve identity. So, what would actual peace require? Real peace would probably require 4 things. First, a credible solution for Palestinians. Second, security guarantees for Israelis. Third, regional containment of militant groups and outside interference. And fourth, leaders willing to risk their careers, or even their lives, to compromise. Historically, Many leaders who pursued Middle East peace faced assassination, political destruction, or public fury, and that tells you how difficult this really is. The tragedy of the Middle East is that almost everyone involved believes they are defending themselves. Israelis fear annihilation, Palestinians fear erasure, Arab states fear instability, and Iran fears encirclement. And in that environment, every side sees compromise as weakness. But history also shows something important, and that is, enemies can change. France and Germany fought devastating wars for centuries, and yet now, they sit together in the European Union. So, peace between Israel and its neighbors is not impossible. But it will likely be slow, uneven, fragile, and built over generations. Because in the Middle East, peace is not simply the absence of war. It is the presence of trust. And trust is the hardest thing to rebuild once history has broken it. What do you think? Will the Middle East eventually move toward peace? Or are these conflicts becoming permanent? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more deep dives into geopolitics, history, and the forces shaping our world. Thank you for watching.